Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Inter Worldwide Podcast. This is episode number 82. We were not on air last week. We were still celebrating the Scudetto. But this week, we're going to bring four guests for you, two from Vox2Box and two from BausciaCafe. And yes, we are five Italian recording a podcast in English. So please make fun of us as much as you want. Anyway, let's start the introductions. We have Edoardo from London. Hi, Edo. How are you?
Hi, hello everybody, and Forza Inter.
We have Hendrik from Amsterdam or about there.
Yeah, a little bit. Hi everyone. Hi worldwide listener. Ciao a tutti.
Then we have Giulio. Hi, Giulio. And you're from Milano.
Yes, hi everyone. This fact that we are all Italian and we spoke in English reminds me of the family reunion in the Godfather, you know.
Okay. And last but not least, we have Marco Maioli, who is a new guest. And you can, if you listen to Vox2Box, you already know him. And is the only not Inter supporter of the group. So I asked all the other guests to be respectful. And hi, Marco.
Hello, everybody. Yes, I'm not celebrating.
Well, not yet, probably. And you live in Milan too?
Near Milan, let's say.
Okay. All right. So, as sign of respect to Marco, we want to ask you just really quickly to all the other guests how you guys celebrated the Scudetto, since we are in four different cities around the world. So I start with Edo. How was your celebration?
So, well, my celebration was a humble and sober celebration, but I know here in London there is quite a group, quite a bunch of people, Inter supporters. They all come from the Inter Club, the London Inter Club. That is quite a large club, an international club. Here, I wasn't with them because of all restrictions and everything that you may all know from this last 18 months. But I have celebrated. I have internally celebrated a lot. It has been, something that broke free from the deep of your soul after so many years, and it was also something unexpected because I wasn't very sure. Or I wasn't confident Atalanta to lose points against Sassuolo, but at the end, all good what ends well. So, we celebrated. Yeah.
What about you, Hendrik?
Yeah, I live in a small village of 18,000 inhabitants, and I am in a small quarter of this small village. But in this small village, there are two Italians, my friends. One is a Roma supporter, and the second one is a AC Milan supporter. So, of course, as soon as the match ended up between Atalanta and Sassuolo, I went out of my door, walked off in front of the door of my friend, the first one, and starting ringing the bell with a nice rhythm until he was completely bothered about that. And then, of course, I did the same with my other friend, AC Milan supporter. And the second time there was, more pleasure in doing that. And he was more annoyed than the Roma supporter. But then, yes, it was a nice afternoon, That's why.
When you started the description of your village, I don't know, you sent me back in the 18th century. I thought you were. Anyway, from a small village to a big city, how was in Milan, Giulio?
Nearly everyone knows how it was in Milan. We see a lot of photos, a lot of videos. We have a lot of criticism about what we do in Milan to celebrate our title. But I want to tell everyone that we haven't finished yet, because for the last game there will be other celebrations. So we will have more photos, more criticism, and so on. But we still celebrate, and we are happy like that.
Yeah, speaking of which, do you know what exactly is going to happen? It's going to be something before the game, after the game? What's the...
Allora, the Intercurva said that there will be some celebrations from the 9 in the morning on the Sunday. I don't know what precisely they will do, and I have no idea what will happen in Milan. I just hope that today the president of Lega Serie A said that they are still trying to get the okay to get 1,000 spectators to the game. And I just hope that this will not happen, because you can imagine that in the square near San Siro there will be something like 30,000 persons. So imagine what will happen if you get 1,000 people to get in from the doors, and you have 30,000 supporters around you. It will be simply impossible to manage.
Right, but officially, anybody knows how they're going to celebrate on the field? Like there's going to be like the cup before the game.
On the field, we will have the cup. I read before the game, but I'm not sure about that. For sure, Andanovic will lift the trophy, and this is not an happy notice for the trophy. It could be a problem. It could be a problem.
I hope that that's not so sure, but
exactly. I hope that the trophy is solid. But I think that will be before the game, and then we'll see what will happen. There is for sure in Milan there will be a lot of celebrations around San Siro and in the zone.
And now let's go to Marco, and of course I'm not gonna ask how you celebrated, but how...
I would ask him. It's yeah, why not? I mean, we don't discriminate, right?
Right. Well, now let's switch gear and let's go and let's talk about the last game of the season, and probably the most important game of the season, which is, of this last weekend, which is Atalanta Milan. What do you expect of this game?
I don't know really, because Milan has lost awfully against Atalanta this season and the last season. So I really don't know. Atalanta will be probably tired after the Coppa Italia final, but I don't know. I've seen many people debating what Atalanta will do. Is it better for them to lose or to win? But I don't think they will be making this thoughts. Atalanta is in a good moment, is in good shape. So I really don't know, and the only thing I can hope is don't know, maybe Juventus losing points, but I don't really believe in it. I am sure Napoli will win, so it will be one between Milan and Juventus who will qualify, and I really don't know what will happen.
Yeah, because one can think, well, who cares for Atalanta? They already qualified in Champions League, but if they lose against Milan, they go from the second position to fourth position, I think, and that's a 10 million euro difference at the end of the season, which for a team like Atalanta is not nothing. So And Edo, what do you think of that game?
Well, I basically agree with what Marco and also you said. Atalanta, despite being already sure of their position inside the best four, I am convinced they would not give up their game. They will play as always, just to win. The only variable is that depending on how the final in the Coppa Italia will go, perhaps they might be a bit more tired and might try a bit more of turnover between the players. Generally speaking, it is only apparent that Napoli and Juventus have easy games. Well, it is the last day of the season. There are all the possibilities that both of them will win, but we have seen in this season also recently those big teams give up many points unexpectedly. So I'm thinking about Benevento for Juventus, Cagliari for both Napoli and Milan. So I wouldn't give it for granted that there will be 2 wins between Napoli and Juventus, although this is by far the most likely possibility. So yes, it's again a matter of Atalanta versus Milan, which is a sort of last resort for Milan, that has given up many points during the since last January, since last February. But again, it's in the old bets in Italy, you would say that it's a triple, that is a 1x2. It means that any of them, both teams can win, or you can end up with a draw. It is important for both teams, especially for Milan, not to go with calculations. And yes, if I have to put some extra variable, it might depend on how tired Atalanta players will be, and also depending on the outcome of the Coppa Italia final. But let's give for granted that they will play as if it were a normal match.
Yeah, we keep talking about the Coppa Italia final. We are recording during the Coppa Italia final. At the moment, the teams are tied 1-1. So we still don't know. Once you are listening to this podcast, you already know the result, but we don't. So we don't know what's gonna happen for this weekend. Julio, what about you? What do you think is gonna happen? Do you see Juve dropping points? Well, how do you see this Atalanta Milan?
After the Mihailovic's word just before the game, I don't think that, and also having seen Bologna so too much often for my pleasure, I don't think that Juventus could lose point against that team. So I think that Juventus will win, and then in Bergamo we will see, because Atalanta has this final match of Coppa Italia that is maybe the most important game for them, because they are sure that they will get in the Champions League another time. So winning the Coppa Italia is something different, because to this team there is the sort of need of a win to put a point on that Gasperini cycle. Then we will see what will happen in the match against Milan. Milan is against the ropes and has nothing to lose. It's not an easy game because against Atalanta in Bergamo is always a difficult game, and especially for Milan, as Marco told before. And then we will see what Atalanta will do. Atalanta has the strength to have so many ways to score, and there's so much confidence in their game, in their possibilities, and in their players. So it's never easy to play against them. So for Milan is obviously a difficult game, but they could have one chance to win. They have to try hard to get that, but they have a chance. And then all the pressure will be on Juventus. It's not an easy Serie A day, and we will see, because so much can happen.
All right, Hendrik, I'm gonna ask you who you think is gonna qualify for Champions League other than Inter and Atalanta?
Well, I think Atalanta, of course. Then, the odds are for Napoli and Juventus. However, I think that more than physically, it's the mental attitude of Atalanta that is going to be a key factor in the clash against Milan. And of course, I'm referring to the fact that we don't know how it's going to end this final. But I think that, for example, if, it depends, 38 matches in one long season with all the problems that have been off the pitch and on the pitch. If, for example, if Atalanta is gonna win, I think, you can tell yourself, of course, we need to put our 100% on the pitch, but it's human, a little bit of fatigue, and then mentally you drop. So in that case, if this is the case, Milan needs really to pull up all they have to gain the momentum and take the opportunity that Atalanta is ready to leave if they are mentally, let's say, dropping the game. Otherwise, I think that in this moment, as we have seen against Cagliari, Milan has a little bit, like Antonio Conte said, some opportunities you need to take, and under some circumstances, the ball weighs a lot, and this is exactly what happened to the players of Milan players against Cagliari.
So, what are the two names you think other than Inter Atalanta? Just two names.
Yeah, Napoli and Juventus, but again, it's just a poor probability calculation.
Right. Edo, what are your two names?
Also from me, Napoli and Juventus, but just as Hendrik said, it's just odds, but it's the probability is not so high. So I would say those two, but not 100%.
All right, I know it's cruel, but Marco, what are your two names?
I have to hope. So I will say Milan and Napoli. I don't believe 100% in this, but I hope.
Mm-hmm. And Giulio?
Oh, as we say in Italy, I have some poison in my veins after our last game against Juventus. So I say Milan and Napoli.
Oh yeah. Of course, I would like to. I mean, this is what I hope. One thing is the forecast, but if you ask me for what I hope, definitely I would hope for Juventus out of the first four.
Right. So as you mentioned, Giulio, the Juventus game, I don't want to talk about that game because I'm still mad. I mean, it's just it just brought me back to the end of the 90s and other games where we found out later what the situation was. I don't think is so bad. I don't think there is all this conspiracy behind. I think it's just really poor refereeing at this point, but it's just it's hard to see always with the same team and the same situation. And if I start to talk about that game, this podcast will last 24 hours minimum. So if you guys want to talk about that, please feel free. here. Whoever wants to say something,
No,
please go
the
ahead.
the fact is that's hard to talk about Juventus Inter without mentioning Calvarese, and that as you told before, maybe it's just a chance, but it always happens with Juventus. That game was particularly bad to watch, also for the two squads that aren't at the top of their condition, but especially for the Calvarese's game. He just can't manage the game, and the final when he get off Bentancur was something like a joke for us, because in a game that was managed so badly against Inter, that expulsion, that red card was a sort of compensation that nobody needed. And in fact, everyone talks about that kind of decision. It was a bad game. I expect something more from Inter, as obvious, and it still hurts.
Right. Let's see an external point of view, Marco. Since you are not directly involved either with Inter and Juve, what do you think of the game?
Well, I think it was mainly bad refereeing, because there was bad decision, penalties which were, let's say, debatable, probably not penalties. So I don't. If you talk about football, there was very little to see. Nothing really important happened but Inter in the second half played better, even when they were even before the red card for Juventus. Then I don't know, probably a draw would have been a fairer result.
Edo, Hendrik, would you like to add anything?
Yes, well, it wouldn't be much more than what has been mentioned already. It was a game, a match of bad refereeing. It was an important match for both. One for the pride, and the other one for the pure result. And yes, also the constant need to go to the VAR. It's a sign of a bad refereeing, because the VAR had to overturn the decisions now many times. Now I don't think 3 times, if I remember well. So it means that apart from everything, whatever last decision you could take, the players on the pitch could not trust you, because already 3 times you had to go to the assistant referee that had to overturn your on-field decision. On top of that, we have witnessed some usual attitude from Juventus players and on and off the pitch, but we are used on that. And with regards to other kind of judgments and of conclusions, I have read and heard from others. Well, I can't say, just because I'm not very used to watch other Serie A teams matches, but one thing that I heard generally was that in this last month, in this last days, there have been many complaints of bad refereeing here and there, quite overall. So can it be because of a real bad refereeing? Can it be because now matches are worth double? But it is perhaps this is just one more match in this trend.
yeah, my opinion was we didn't play a good game in the first half, but also the lack of consistency from the referee that never helps any game. All the bad game that I have seen, most of the time were due from the lack of consistency from the referee, because for the same kind of fall, sometimes you give the red card, sometimes you give yellow, sometimes nothing, and that destabilizes the players during the game. You know, it's like, wait, can I actually tackle a player or not? And so when you're a player and you have to double guess everything you do, the game is not good. But anyway, Hendrik, do you want to add anything to all this?
Yes, because I think that self-quoting is never a good thing, but I wrote a couple of tweets about that. I think that I would like to say something about a different angle of the matter, because it's Inter belongs to the Italian football system, and I think that what happened during Juventus Inter is something that is really a symbol or a summary of what Serie A cannot show outside, abroad. Because I have watched the match with the Dutch comment, and then I have watched also some excerpts from English comment, and everyone was laughing. I've read some comments in Spanish, and the comments were really, this is a ridiculous refereeing. I mean, Juventus Inter is the jewel of the crown of Italian football, as much as Inter Milan or Milan Juventus, of course. But, you cannot show this if you want to gain credibility and audience, and most important of all, money from who has the money and want to spend that money for football, for watching football. And I'm referring to the million of fans in Asia or in South America. I mean, if this is the best that Serie A can offer, I mean, how can you think to subtract market share to the viewers of Premier League or La Liga or even Bundesliga? This is not acceptable. Otherwise, you will see another super leagues soon, because I mean, you have to find money, but the system needs to be credible. And this kind of refereeing gives, for whatever reason, again, bad refereeing, you say, someone says conspiracy, someone says corruption, whatever, we don't have evidences, so it's useless to say. The outcome, whatever is the reason, is that the outcome cannot be acceptable if you want to sell your product abroad. And this was supposed to be the best match between the two best teams in Serie A.
Edo, what do you want to say? Edo?
I just wanted to add something to what Hendrik was saying about how the same match was felt and described in different parts. So what adds to the narrative Hendrik was mentioning is also how it was perceived, because you might have an important match that is ruined somehow by bad refereeing, but at the same time you can have a description on the press, a description on the TV by pundits on the TV shows that describe quite objectively what happened, what was good, what was wrong. And on top of all the match, there was also this attempt to minimize somehow, or not to analyze correctly or objectively some of the episodes there, and this clashes even more with what Hendrik said, that UK press, British press, Dutch press, also a different story, and perhaps we also need, in order to move on with this process of better credibility internally and externally, also to move a bit away from that and to improve in this sense.
Right. As I was texting you guys live, I was watching the game on ESPN, and here the commentators were just laughing. Like when after the goal, the Chiellini goal, and right away the penalty for Quadrado, they were just laughing. It was like, I don't know what's happening, if it's normal in Italy or not, but there is nothing here, and it's giving a penalty. It was just hilarious for them. Anyway, speaking about the perception from outside, next year in Serie A, we'll have the return of a coach that from outside still creates a lot of interest, which is Jose Mourinho. But somebody that maybe you guys know. I don't know. It's this Portuguese coach. Let's start with from Giulio. What do you think of this move from Roma?
Well, I was very, very surprised the morning that they announced it, and I checked the account 3-4 times because I believed it was a fake. Also, the first and second time I already checked that it was not a fake. I don't know what to expect about that, because Mourinho had some disappointing performance at Tottenham, and his career is in a clear trajectory, because we have Inter, Real Madrid, Chelsea, Manchester United, Tottenham, Roma. So there is something wrong with that, and especially after Manchester United, he do a better job that is recognized, but after that in Tottenham he had some problems, and I don't know what he can do in Rome, but especially for the problem. We always talk about Inter financial problems, but Roma has the same problems, and a poorer squad. So we have some problems about that. What players will bring the manager to Mourinho? What kind of play we will see from that squad? The most important thing is that he needed to fix the defense of this squad. That was the principal problem. Especially in the last months under Fonseca. What I expect is a huge show, because we have Mourinho back in Italy, and especially I am talking especially about you who support Inter. We will have a lot of words from Mourinho about Inter, about Serie A, about his past in Inter, about his rivalry with Inter, and so on. So we need to get ready for that, because we all know how he manages these things. And about that, if Simone Inzaghi will keep his role on the Lazio's bench, I am very, very curious about the next Roma derby, because Simone Inzaghi is not ready to manage Mourinho in a game like Roma Lazio. And I'm not talking about what happened in the field, but everything outside that. He's not ready, and he will get mad about that. It will be a huge show, that's for sure. I don't know how much it will last. I am not sure that it will get something good or better than his predecessors on the field, but it will be a huge show. There will be a lot of words, and it will be very, very interesting to follow.
All right. Before I ask the other two interviewees here, Marco, what was your reaction? What do you think Mourinho is going to bring to this area?
Well, obviously, I was very, very surprised, and surely he is the most famous manager to sit on the Roma bench since I don't know, maybe Fabio Capello. But Roma is not the same. Is not the Roma of Fabio Capello of the late 90s. It has problems because it will play the Conference League, so the money is not available. Mourinho surely can be useful in attracting players. I can imagine that being coached by Mourinho can still be interesting for a player, but it is difficult to imagine what Mourinho can do on the pitch, because until I don't know, 5-6 years ago, maybe he was not the coach of the Inter, the Real Madrid years, but he was still a villain who could decide to not to lose a match when he wanted, at least. Now at Tottenham, it wasn't a good season, and I mean, if one has seen Tottenham going out of Europa League, losing against Dinamo Zagreb, well, there are problems, and I don't know how much Roma can go out on the market and spend to recruit players. So surely a great show, but I have some doubts that this will turn out to be a good choice.
Right. I forgot at the beginning to shout out to David Amoyal. I was his guest in the last episode, CHILLIN, and he asked me the same question. As an Inter supporter, how do you leave the return of Mourinho in Serie A on a different bench? And so I'm gonna ask this to Edo and Hendrik, whoever wants to start.
Well, I'm tranquil, I have to say. It's like a good friend of yours that comes again to your house. Well, Mourinho, if we speak technically, Mourinho's career is clearly going downhill because he's not anymore Porto's Mourinho or Chelsea's Mourinho or Internazionale's Mourinho, or like 10 years ago. But this is also not the reason, or this is not 100% the main reason why Friedkin brought him back to Italy to coach Roma. They would like to have a sort of a whip of motivation, and in this sense, Mourinho can be the ideal person to wake up an environment that has been trained at the end fairly well by Fonseca, but from an emotional point of view has been anesthetized since now it's many years. So yes, Mourinho can bring a lot technically to Rome. Of course, the objective is to reach the 4th position and to gain once again the Champions League. And from this point of view, Mourinho can be enough. But more importantly, the quality of the roster, which I think is good, which I think is real good, Roma's roster, especially with some addition that they will necessarily make, because otherwise they wouldn't have invested so much money on Mourinho. But it's the quality of the team that needs to step up and come out. So in a certain sense, you know what, I can paraphrase. It's not, we don't have to ask what Mourinho can do for Roma or for the Roma players. We need to ask what the players can do for Mourinho. And if the players will be with him and he is able to lure them with him, now at that time, we might have a very entertaining season from the Roma side.
Hendrik?
In the end, I'm happy. I mean, of course, everything went muffled by the fact that Inter won the title. So, it's fine. Of course, I would have been annoyed probably if I had seen him sitting on the bench of Juventus or Milan, but I'm happy that he's back, even because I think, as you said so far, it will be spectacular off the pitch. I think a little bit less on the pitch, but in a tournament like Serie A, I think he may have still some ace in his sleeve, and make the life of some opponents miserable enough to regret the fact that he's sitting on the bench of an Italian competitor.
Okay. Last thing after the Lazio game yesterday night. Now we know for sure who is gonna leave Serie A. This is the in memoriam moment of this podcast. Want to ask you guys very quickly, what do you think about the three teams that are going to go back to Serie B, which at this point are Benevento, Crotone, and Parma? Personally, I still can't believe that Parma not only is going back to Serie B, but it's like at the last position of Serie A. That's if somebody was going to tell me this at the beginning of the season, I would just, I couldn't believe it. And to see Spezia staying in Serie A and playing that well, it's another big surprise. So, Hendrik, let's start with you. What do you think of this season for these three teams?
Yeah, Crotone was predictable. Benevento was predictable, but how they ended up was not, because in the end, probably they didn't deserve to go down. Probably Torino was absolutely deserving to go down, even if I'm really sympathetic with Granata, so I'm happy that they stay in Serie A, but looking at the performance, probably they would have deserved to go down, to be relegated. And Parma is a big mystery. I think that there was a big change in the philosophy of their play system when they moved from D'Aversa to Liverani, and of course they didn't give to Liverani enough time, but unfortunately the tournament and this year was also compressed. So you don't have. I mean, if you start losing one match after another, you need to do something. So probably not sure, but with D'Aversa since the beginning, probably they would have had some more chances. Spezia is definitely the surprise of the season. They did a great season. So in the end, I think that the pitch says something correct, except for, as I said, this Benevento Torino duel that end up in favor of the Granata, but probably not fully deserved in my view.
Right, Marco, what do you think? As Hendrik said, I was pretty sure about Benevento staying in Serie A at one point, but then they just collapsed. What do you think, Marco?
Well, first of all, probably at least 4 times deserve to be relegated because Torino is a disaster. If you think so a couple of seasons ago, they qualified for Europa League, and still they have lots of those players, and they have high wages, a lot higher than the other teams fighting for salvation. So about Benevento, I think the problem is Inzaghi never really gave an identity to the team. It started the season playing something of offensive football, going forward and getting lots of goals. Then in other matches, you saw Benevento very defensive. While Spezia had a way of playing and it followed the plan, whether it went, whether the result of the match, Benevento didn't really have an identity, and the players are what they are. They are not the players that Torino have, that Cagliari has. So it was probably, I don't know, probably deserved. And about Parma, which is a bit of a surprise because they come last. I think what they did at the start of the season is trying to rebuild the team, which was something that they probably had to do because Gervinho was not anymore the Gervinho of a couple of years ago. Kulusevski was not there anymore. Bruno Alves is old. So that they try to rebuild a team. They bought a lot of players, but it probably was the worst season to rebuild the team because of the there was not enough time, and then so Liverani probably was not the best choice. The new owners came and wanted to change the way Parma played. They were probably unlucky because a lot of players were injured for long periods. If you think a lot of players, Valenti, who was bought to play, and he really made an appearance. So it was probably even they were unlucky.
Before going to the expert of the zona retrocessione, Edo, what do you think?
Well, yes, I would make well, of course, I echo Marco in what he said, and I would distinguish two aspects. The first one is badly managed teams, and the second aspect is literally weak teams. So Parma, like as well as Torino, they belong to the badly managed teams or badly built teams. Parma, yes, they wanted to build again with some young players who could mix up well with the experienced ones they had. They were unfortunate to have some injured players, but at the same time, last January they went into sort of a panic mode. And on top, for example, I make one example for all. On top of Inglese that was injured and Cornelius, the forward they had, they added Pelle and Zirkzee. Why ending up having four forwards in the team? And the same also for other people, because for other players, because Man, Mikhaila, and others. Let's not think they haven't spent a lot for those players. The same is Torino. We mentioned Torino earlier, just to say the amount of wages that Torino pays is higher than Atalanta, just to make an example. It's higher than Fiorentina. Fiorentina, example of a badly managed team. On the other side, we have very weak teams like Crotone, who were deemed to be relegated since the beginning because they couldn't make a good team and a good squad. And also the same applies also for Spezia, who were saved by a very good coach like Italiano. And on that side, it's more like a sensation of the gap between Serie A and Serie B that is opening more and more, so that it's rare. It's getting rarer and rarer to have good teams being promoted from Serie B and Serie A and being ready to play in the Serie A, so that it's becoming sort of a trend that basically the 3 promoted teams will automatically be the 3 more likely to be relegated in the next season.
Okay, it's my turn now. So yeah. I want to underline the fact that Bruno Alves was old when he left Cagliari. Now he's something like a dinosaur. It's like to have a T-Rex on the earth. It's something more.
And he was the best defender probably.
and you get to you know a lot about Parma in that with that phrase. I also wanted to underline the fact that Parma is last in Serie A, and that's a fact, an important fact, because Crotone has the worst defense in Serie A history. With 92 goals scored against. That it's something more than a huge number, and Parma is 80. So we have something historical in front of our eyes. Crotone has. There is one thing that I simply cannot understand from teams like Crotone and Benevento, because Benevento and Crotone dominated the Serie B on the last season, but really dominated. There is something more than a gap between them and the other team, and then they come in Serie A and nearly take the same team, and it's simply unbelievable. The problem is with Crotone, as I told since the beginning of the season, is that their defensive roster is composed by Giuseppe Cuomo, Kofi Gigi, Vladimir Golemic, Sebastiano Luperto, Lisandro Magajan, and Luca Marrone. And you simply can't play in Serie A with the defense, and we had the evidence. So there is a problem. The delusion of the season is Parma, and then Benevento get the perfect suicide, because they get just one victory in all the return, il girone di ritorno, non mi viene come si dice in inglese, perdonatemi, against Juventus. They were nearly okay with that victory, and then they can't get any more result that is useful for them. So they paid all their problems all together in the last months, and they are in a very difficult situation, because they have to get back again from Serie B. Torino and Cagliari played with fire, because they were nearly relegated at some point, and they maybe get a lesson, because they can't do anything. They can't go on like that, because they have some structural problems, and if they continue to go on the wrong side, they risk to end like Parma. It's not an easy situation for them.
All right. Anybody else need to add anything else about this team? Otherwise, I think we are ready to say goodbye.
The only thing is that in Crotone and Parma there are some good players that can still be useful in Serie A, because they are not so weak. So I expect that some player will stay in Serie A, and especially for Parma it is a problem, because they have a roster that is not suited for Serie B, and I don't know which players will remain in Serie B.
Right. I mean, the Simi is one of the players I cannot see going back to Serie B, honestly. Just to mention one. So before we close, I know we still have time before the beginning of the Europei, but since I have all of you here, I wanted just to ask you guys who you think is gonna reach the final. I don't want to know who's gonna win the whole competition, but if you can give me 2 teams that, in your opinion, will reach the final. Start with Edo.
Apart from France, Well, France seems to be the powerhouse of the 24, but they're in a very, very difficult group, the Group F, alongside with Portugal and Germany. So apart from France, I do not see another team standing out. So it will also depend on the form, on some luck. But let's say, I don't know. Here in Britain, they believe a lot this is the right time for them. But I do think it is still early, but there may be some real contenders, for example, for the World Cup in Qatar. So, well, perhaps Spain, because they are very experienced, but they are not the Spain we are used to see in the last decade, and the same applies for Germany. So perhaps these can also be some Euro for other underdogs. Let's not forget Portugal. They are the winners of 2016. So there can be many teams, but with one constant, that is France.
Hendrik, you have two names.
Yeah, of course.
I think I don't know you guys, but I can't really. Hendrik, are you back?
Number one. Just think that. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Not really. Hello.
Okay. Let's pass then.
Okay, I heard that. Marco, what do you think?
Well, if I have to say two names, I say France and Portugal. I know it was the final 5 years ago, but Portugal, if you just look at the names, it is a much better team than 5 years ago, because you have all the Portuguese players that now play in Manchester City. You know, you have Bernardo Silva, you have Ruben Dias at the back, you have Andre Silva, who has scored a lot of goals in Germany this year. You have Diogo Jota, Pedro Neto. You have a lot of players who all the players Sporting, so a lot of players who weren't there 5 years ago, plus all the big names, Cristiano Ronaldo. We'll see, but Joao Felix, you have a lot of good players, so I expect them, I don't know if to win, but in a sense to do better than 5 years ago, to play better in a way.
I underline what Marco just said, because Portugal is an underrated squad, because we tend to consider just the old generation, but they get some new players, and then some semi-old players like Cancelo and Bruno Fernandes that get their ability to another level. Apart from that, France is the powerhouse of the tournament, like we saw before. But I have to talk about England, because England is a great team, has some young talent, has physical, tactical, and technical talent, and is a very important team that need just the right alchemy. As we said, a lot of time for the England national team over the years. And then someone must tell that, because someone must talk about Italy. Italy, to get to the final of this European Championship, it needs two things. One, Verratti, because he's the most talented player in our midfield, and has the personality to do something different than the others. And then someone on the from our offensive roster that gets something like Schillaci so many years ago, because without some offensive player that get something different from what they showed under Mancini, it's very difficult to win a competition like that.
if Hendrik is able to answer now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Of course, yeah. France is my favorite number one. Just thinking about they left home a dozen of players who would be probably in the starting 11 of any other national team in the world. For the other finalists, of course, I don't know right now the possibility of which team cannot go to the final against France because the draw, of course. But I think that in the end, Belgium can be still there because I think they are a complete squad. Of course, I hope about Italy and Netherlands. Netherlands are a great team, unfortunately, led by someone who is not showing the right skill to bring a very good national team in speciality. But I think their play is poor. So my name is Belgium.
Oh, for Belgium, there is an important thing. It's their moment. For the age of the players and the level of play of their best players, their moment is now. And the next World Cup maybe that's the next World Cup. It's a little bit too late for some players maybe. So their moment is now.
I agree.
Okay. I think after 1 hour, I'm ready to thanks all of you. Let's start with the two guests from Vox2Box. Thank you so much, Marco, and hope to have you back soon.
It was a pleasure.
And Giulia, of course.
Grazie a te, Alessandro. Grazie a tutti.
And then I want to thank the two guests from BausciaCafe. Edo, thank you.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Ciao tutti.
And Hendrik.
Thank you for having me here. A big ciao to everyone.
And thank you all the listeners. And on Twitter, you're gonna find this with all the link to our guests. And Forza Inter, and let's celebrate the Scudetto this weekend. And I hope you have a great vacation after that.